Hey, what is up, guys? It is Rapmark here. Here doing the final, last, seventh episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Finally. uh, in the name of honor. Let's get to it. What was I ultimately say for this episode? It was really disappointing. It felt like they rushed a whole lot of stuff. They tried to finish a whole lot of plot points um, that really didn't deserve to be there. They had some of the most awkward, terrible action sequences I've seen in a Star Wars thing, and that's saying a lot because there's some movies, even the OG series, where it's just like, come on. Let's see. Ultimately, it just did not satisfy me. I mean, especially how how they did in Bane, and it's just like, oh my gosh, good old Cad Bane. Yeah. So, oh my gosh. So I'm gonna do sort of like just a brief thing about how I judged the series, but that's going to be later on in this. Just this just this episode is just like it just felt so choppy. It felt unpaced. I mean, it turned like this whole series essentially uh the main character into a side character in his own show. Oh my god. Like, oh my god. Like, so it starts off, they're in the bombed out building. He's already failed to protect the city. Like, and it's just like, let's go to the city or let's go to the palace. And they're just like, no, you have to be symbolic. You cannot abandon your people. It cannot appear to abandon your people. It's just like, oh my gosh. You have an entire cartel coming down at you with who knows how many foot soldiers, who know, with what even, and it's you're gonna make out about being in a bombed out casino essentially, whereas the palace would be much better defendable, and they have to go after you. So, and I mean, first of all, it starts off. So, I mean, we're just discussing it here. Spoilers, non spoilers, whatever. We're gonna talk about it all. Um, so R2D2, it actually it actually answers what Grogu chose between being a Jedi or going to be with the Mandalorian, and he chose the chainmail to be with Din Djarin, and he comes in later, and it's a touching moment, but it comes at a very awkward time. I mean, it kind of works, but it also like uh, does a whole bunch of other questions, like how are you gonna have this emotional connection now with season 3? You can't because you did in the Book of Boba by turning Boba into a side character in his own show. Good God. Um. So yeah, that happens. So Bane and the Pikes talk where they essentially, confess that they were the ones who did it, and they made it look like a Nikto biker gang did it, even though everyone knew this. And I said this the second it happened in the episode. Just like there's no way a biker gang is going to take out a tribe of Tusken Raiders. No way. They're way too badass and hardcore, and they do not have anywhere near the firepower. Whereas the Pike Syndicate, they have a lot of firepower, mechs, and a lot more guns and vehicles. Yeah, they could just stomp all over them, unfortunately, and they did. And it didn't surprise me. It shouldn't have surprised anyone. Like, it's the Pikes. If you didn't know it was the Pikes, then your suspension of disbelief over the bullshit writing of this series is it's something else. And you probably got a lot more out of this series than I did, but we'll go on to that later. But anyway, so yeah, Bane's talking to him, and he's just like, all right, I have a plan. And what he does is he essentially, tells him about it because they're waiting. It's just like someone snuck, like they got the mods wandering the streets. They got what the heck's his name? Kurt. Oh, come on, don't do this to me. Kirsten or Kersantin. There we go. Yeah, Kirsten is watching over the Transdotians, which is a little weird because he hates Trandoshans. He freaking tore their arm off. Like, he hates Trandoshans. Okay, that's not in any way suspicious. The two Gamorreans are watching I believe Klyptonians, I think is what they're called, the sort of bulldog type uh, aliens, and then they have the mods, uh, and I forget what but another essentially family, crime family, and yeah, but honestly, the whole thing would have been just like but yeah, Cad sneaks up because he's highly skilled. Somehow, two, maybe four other snipers sneak through. It's just like, I mean, he clearly does not have a lot of manpower. He is writing, and he says this later on, the people of Freetown coming to save his butt. And yeah, it's like, it's crazy how he's after at this point in the game, knowing what's going on, he apparently has lots of credits but no muscle. It's a little weird. And then Freetown does join. You again have Din and Boba meeting up. So he stays. He's gonna fight, and they're just like, no spice. And so it's clear that Boba is trying to go completely straight. And it's so awkward. But he's trying to become the head of a crime family? How the heck is he going to make money? Like, there's not going to be slaves involved. And if there's no spice, then, what's left? A protection racket? It's just like, hey, nice establishment. Hope nothing happens to it. Like, oh my gosh, what is... I have no idea. I don't know who this Boba is. This ain't my Boba. I'll tell you that right now. So yeah, he agrees, and I mean, I guess you can say you have to. Whatever. But yeah, all Bane's telling is, all that does is make him a little bit mad. I'm sorry if it's kind of choppy. I'm just really disappointed with how this episode and this whole series has turned out. Um, but yeah, it just made him a little mad. I mean, he's just like, and then Finnick's just like, you'll have your moment. It's just, ugh, it was so transparent and just terrible. And so he agrees, and he uses the Major Domo to essentially, after the Pike soldiers, footmen, shooters, whatever you want to call them, they come in. He sends the Major Domo to distract the Pikes, and they attack the group. They're very outnumbered. Like, I will say this, as bad of shots as bad guys can be in series, they at least weren't at the level of stormtroopers. They did get some shots on Din and Boba. So I will say that. That being said, they're not the greatest shots, but at least they tried, and it looked more believable. And yeah, but of course, while all this is happening, uh, the three families that he wanted to get neutral, they were they betray him, of course. So the two Gamorreans are they die. They get pushed off a cliff essentially, which is upsetting because they're the only two that die. I mean, good God, no one dies in this, and it pissed me off so bad. I wanted give me like half of the mods dying. Like, I mean, I prefer if all the mods died because I fucking hate those people. You know, some people from Freetown, they can die, but no one died. And it was so tacky and non-believable. It was just, what are you doing? Ugh. So anyway, yeah, the people of Freetown, um, yeah, Fennec has to go save the mods. She saves the mods, all of them. I mean, one of them, I guess, takes a shot. I don't know. I guess it was in a mod somewhere because they all seem to be there when they come to the rescue. And then poor Chrysanthemum, he gets jumped on. He beats the crap out of quite a few, but he gets wailed on by the Transdotians. And then after the mods show up, he comes in. He's just like pushing off a bunch of pikes. I don't think there were any Transocean. I think he was just breaking through the pike line at that point. Uh, but he's limping. Like his ankle clearly looks broken. Like, and he takes 3 shots to the chest. He takes a couple of the leg. Like, he is just getting blasted. And then the mods come and they to save the day, and it looked horrible. One of the mods just like gets does this weird spinning move with his gun, and it's just like, yeah, shot him. It's just like, yeah, we don't need you to look badass. No one likes you, and Chrysanthemum did a pretty good job of being badass there. Though, of course, it was really weird because later on in the battle, he's running just fine. He looks just fine. Like, here he's like bleeding, he has cuts and again his ankle clearly looks broken. But yeah, no. He ends up he's fine. I get it that Wookiees are fucking tough as nails and will freaking keep on going no matter what. But I didn't know that they could instantaneously mend broken bones, let alone being shot like 12 times, a couple at point blank range. It was a little weird, and I was not a fan of it. Uh, so after they drive off the troopers again, two cyborgs, and the best I can describe them is like they're like armored tanks. They're almost like Destructicars, except they don't roll. They have like spider legs, but they have shield generators, generate shields all around them, and they blow up the armored speeder that we're on, and yeah, that's an armored speeder. And another thing, I just like, how is no one dying? How is no one dying? Because they hide in a freaking stucco like area where they're shooting, and again, two of these things, they have four cannons each. They blew up an armored speeder. They can't shoot through stucco. Good grief. And no one dies. And they have the worst aim. The worst aim. These are high-tech mechs. I mean, in The Mandalorian, you saw people die. Here, no one dies. This is like the most ridiculous battle I've ever seen in Star Wars. Ever. That's saying a lot. We've been through a lot. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then there's this whole like mini sort of tiny plot line of just like people from the city don't like people from the country, look down at people from the country. People in the country don't like the people in the city. And then they go up into the sniper zone, which I don't know why. Uh, that shield generator is still shielded. I mean, I guess it's a better place for them to take out more pike people, but it's still bizarre. It's still like, what's the what's the point of this whole thing? Yeah, and then they work together, and it's just like, yeah, you're cool, whatever, whatever. Again, they tried to give too much to all these side characters, and it ruins it for Boba Fett because they've just turned him into such a castrated wuss. And that's not who he is. Again, when we first see him, he is killing stormtroopers with all crazy manner of things. The next time we see him, again in The Mandalorian, he shoots Bib Fortuna in the face for no reason other than he wants to take over the territory. He has been established in a Disney Plus universe as a badass, and they did this to him. Fuck! Yeah, I'm not happy. It royally pissed me off. Oh my god. So then there's a funny part again. Moto arrives with Grogu. Din, that's that touching moment I talked to you earlier, where it's just like, okay, this is touching, this is awesome. Why wasn't this in Mandalorian season 3? And then you get the one highlight of the battle that I actually enjoyed. I thought it was going to be bad, but no, it actually turned out fairly decent aside from what looked like a King Kong montage at the end, which was a little awkward. Um, and that was the Rancor. Boba Fett riding the Rancor, and with the Rancor, he's able to uh, d- destroy one of the tanks, Scorp Scorpinex is apparently what they're called. Scorpinex. Okay, there we go. Scorpinex droids. And he destroys one of them. And Rancors, if you know, they are resistant to blaster fire. So these things are shooting away. They're not immune to blaster fire because, I mean, you can clearly see some of the shots are leaving impressions, cut marks. He's clearly being hurt by it. But, yeah. So, destroys one, and then through lowering its shield, and then a second one. Actually, oh my gosh, is it the first or second? Yeah, the first one. Man, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. So yeah, on one of them he's able to grab it, and then Boba Fett's just like, do it. You know that he's gonna rip it apart already, but you have to have that stereotypical like line, I'm taking charge, I'm in charge, this is my moment, and it's just like, not really, dude. But yeah, it's super funny that to go off to leave the Rancor, he just leaves Din there to handle himself. It's just like, oh my gosh, he just flew off his own show. That's awesome. But anyway, the Rancor did work for me. I did enjoy it. He destroys a second one, but man, it is blasting away. And then it kind of goes mad. And goes and does a King Kong, like, through the town. And so Grogu has to put to sleep. Oh my gosh, I forgot. There was one point where the shield generator was damaged to the point because of the amount of pressure that the Rancor put on one of them. And it knocks Din down and almost puts its leg through his leg, his little pointy foot through his leg. And so Grogu like goes out and it's just like, oh my gosh, is this gonna be? Is he gonna just crush this thing? Is he gonna force crush this thing? And no, he just takes out a little stabilizer on one of his legs. It's fine. It gets back up. Its back leg looks a little wonky, but I mean it drops it down for a little bit. But yeah, that's definitely a missed mark. And yeah, it goes after Bane. Yeah, Cad Bane, and he uses his flamethrower to chase it off. Which I don't know if they're like susceptible to flame, or what that is, but I'd need to look that up. But it just seemed a little weird that it's literally taken all this blaster fire and yet it's driven off by fire. So I don't know. That it could be that they're just really susceptible to fire or something. I don't know. Just my opinion, just from what I've had and the horrible writing I've had to deal with in this series. Um, let's see. Oh my gosh. So the duel. So at this point, The Pikes have routed. The tanks are dead. Why is Cad Bane still there? Literally through this battle, he does not help out once. And that's why no one dies, I guess. I guess because they didn't want anyone to die, which is fucking garbage writing. People need to die in your series. Like, otherwise there's no stakes. It can't be just this, like, the good guys win. Honesty and everything is, like, this is real life. I mean, okay, it's fantasy and it's based on Western stuff, but, like, don't do this to Star Wars. Star Wars is, it's about as close to real life in fantasy that you can get. I mean, there's slavery, there's gladiator combat, there's underworld, there's starvation, there's planets that are literally impoverished to starvation. Like, come on. If you want to have a show with stakes, you have to let people die, even if it's on the protagonist's side. And only 2 people die, and it was the Gamorreans, and I was super salty about it because that's bullshit. No one else dies, just the Gamorreans. That's fucked. That's what I'm gonna say about that. So anyway, yeah. So there's this battle. They banter back and forth, just like I'm still faster than you. Cad goes to Boba, I'm still faster than you, because Boba calls him an old man. And yeah, he's able to outdraw Boba, shoots him a couple times, knocks him down, and then he rips his helmet off, and then he gloats a little bit. And then what happens? He takes his gaffa stick, knocks him down, knocks his gun aside. He tries drawing a second, knocks that aside. It's just like, you are cold-blooded. You're just a murderer after all. And then he plunges it through his chest, which I still am hopeful because they have some sort of beeping. I mean, Cad Bane is very old at this time. Like, he's about ready to, he's a few years away from dying a natural death anyway. And he is the most badass bounty hunter. Like, in the Clone Wars, he was the most badass bounty hunter. And then after the unwritten episode in Clone Wars where, Boba takes that, Boba's the most badass but he's still number 2. He's still number 2, and he's a fucking ancient old man. And again, why is he there? Like, he's past getting paid from the Pikes. Like, their men are dead. He could probably just go. He could probably just leave because he probably knows that they're screwed unless he went back to their sort of meeting house, and that's another scene we need to talk about. But yeah, it's just like, Cad is not stupid, and he does not care enough to let a personal grudge, risk himself. He is not going to stay there after everyone's dead and not contributing at all throughout the battle. Why? Oh, man. But yeah, so he kills him. Supposedly, they're still blinking, so maybe they keep him alive. We'll see. I mean, I kind of hope so because they fucking did him dirty on that death. That death was not good. I was not satisfied with it. I don't feel it I don't feel it redeemed Boba, like, at all. So yeah, then there's Rancor, which I went through. And then at Mos Eisley, all the crime lords have gathered upon them to discuss everything. The Pikes are just like, we got to get out of here. I'm just like, but you made a promise. And just like, and you made a promise that it would be friendly and profitable to do business here. Half of my men are dead. And then you hear a couple blasters, and then you hear running around. And I was honestly hoping for Boba because what happens then is awesome. Like everyone on the inside gets shot. The mayor of Mos Espa, Shays, he literally gets a rope thrown around his neck, gets hauled up, and his neck broken. Like, yes, that was bad. This is another badass scene that I actually loved. And then the Pike leader, he's just like, oh God, what's going on? Because he's shooting, and then behind him he gets stabbed and killed. And the reveal is it's Fennec, which good for her. She is the bright point. The series did very well for her character, like to a point where I want her to have her own show. Cause fuck Boba Fett right now. And I mean, it took a moment from him. Like that could have been Boba's, and it could have got a little bit of redemption there, but no. Yeah. And then at the end of it, everyone's like respecting him. They're all bowing to him. It's just super awkward. It's super. It just doesn't feel earned, because again, he barely did shit. Fennec did most of the bad stuff. She did all the heavy lifting, all the killing, most of the killing, and a lot of the hard work. He's just like, I'm gonna rule respect, not fear, and apparently he's gonna make no money because there's now no spice, and it's just. Yeah, apparently got away with it, and you know what? Whatever. So what am I gonna give this episode? I'm gonna give this episode a 5 because there were some good parts about it that I did enjoy, but then there were a lot of parts about it that I did not enjoy, and the whole thing was just so like plot lines were rushed again. Everything was so choppy. It's just like you're trying to compile, wait, and finish off too many things in a 1 hour episode. You wrote yourself into a stupid goddamn corner, and this is your own fault, and you're trying to limp away from it, and I'm not gonna let you because this is bad. This is super bad. Yeah, so the couple of things, so 5. So yeah, the couple of things that I really loved were again the Rancor. I did love that. And I love Fennec Shan's scene at the end where she kills everyone who betrayed them. Uh, that was that was amazing. I also did like Chrysanthemum literally turning the odds and coming out. I mean, he should have died, but I thought it was pretty badass. I hated the mods. I love nothing about the mods. I hated the fact that no one died, even though they were behind fucking stucco. Um, I hated how gutless Boba was. And he was surprised that he was betrayed. Just like, you're going to trust a bunch of criminals. Like, you've got to be kidding me. And again, at some point in one of these episodes, he's just like, I'm tired of working for people that I'm smarter than. And he was surprised that he was betrayed by criminals. So not only incompetent, he's fucking stupid. Like, has he forgotten everything about being a bounty hunter and about the underworld? Like, what? So yeah, 5 of 10 on this. What would I give? So yeah, that's what it is. And poor Robert Rodriguez. Yeah, he directed this last one. episode 3 and episode 1, and all of those were some of the worst ones in the franchise. It just feels disjointed. I mean, it was an endless battle, but if you really want it described, 70% of it was a bunch of people shooting at an impenetrable shield with lasers that aren't going to penetrate it. Yeah, it's... and no one dies, which I found to be completely unrealistic and stupid and ridiculous considering they wiped out the entire Pike Syndicate. Like, come on. Come on. They weren't the best shots, but come on. No one's going to die. And then what the hell is Cad Bane doing there after the battle is essentially already over and the good guys have won? He wouldn't be there. He would have pulled out. He would have been just like, fuck this. I can go do another job. So, yeah. So that is number 7. And then really quickly, I'm just going to talk about this what I thought about the series. It was very disjointed. It did Boba Fett very dirty. It totally mitigated and minimalized the role the Tuskens had. Like, they could have had such a big role in this. And that's what I thought when, the first two episodes. But yeah, no. Yeah, they killed him off, and then they barely even played homage to him. Kind of like the Gamorreans. They were the most loyal guards he had, and they were the only ones to die, and no one said a damn thing about him. Like they didn't even care. And there were so many oh, good God. Yeah. Yeah, and there were a lot of plot points and a lot of characters that they tried to do justice with in this series. The problem was they tried to all do it in that last episode, and there was no way that everyone was going to, end in a very satisfying, concluding way. Like, they were trying to end game it. They were trying to, like, Spider-Man No Way Home it, and they failed spectacularly. They turned Boba into essentially just this neutered version of this gutless old man who I just don't care about. I mean, I feel great about Fennec. I want to see more about Fennec. If Boba Fett Season 2 is ever made, which I really hope it doesn't, because this was really bad. And from what I've read, they refer to it as Mandalorian 2.5, which I'm just like, then what was the point of creating a spin-off named Boba Fett? It literally is like, when they created this, it was less the intention of actually doing a show about Boba Fett and more about just connecting everything and to get ready for Mandalorian Season 3, which is not what we wanted. It was very horribly done. And honestly, whoever thought that a quote-unquote Mandalorian 2.5 was a good idea, you're stupid. Don't ever do shit like that again. It's cheap and it pisses fans off. It really does. It's taking advantage of your fan base. Yeah, and that's the thing that I hated is another thing I hated is how they were always rising these side characters to Mandalorian. And if you're good at writing, you can do that. The problem with this is they didn't rise the characters in a meaningful way. They lowered Boba Fett, who essentially became a side character in his own show. Like, literally, my favorite shows were episodes 5 and 6, where he wasn't even there. He had a screen time of about a minute. And both like 5 was, I think I gave a 9, and 6 I gave a 10 to, because they were amazing. But I mean, if you like as a series though, like you take away those, and it's just like, there were some really low ones. I mean, I think I gave episode 3 like a 3 or a 4. It was bad. So I mean, you look at these, they got some middling scores, but I mean, on the whole, I have to give this a 4. Like this whole series gets a 4 because it's so disjointed. It does a disservice to its own main character. It screws over its own main character. It introduces plot lines and threads that I don't care about and don't want to see. It does do some justice with some of the characters. Again, Fennec Shand, I do like. I do like the Din Djarin, as well as Grogu and that whole storyline. And I like how number 6 literally. See, that was a successful like end game, end gaming it. Avengers Endgame, because it brought in so much stuff, but it did it in a good way, and it made sure everyone had their place, with the exception of maybe Ahsoka, which seemed a little weird that she was there, but I'm willing to forgive that because the rest of the episode was just so good. But yeah, do better, do better, Disney, because and don't do crap like this. Like again, the really short episodes and series of only like 7 episodes. Like, stop it. There are literally some legitimate good shit that we care about, that we love, like Mandalorian. Like Mandalorian, I hope they realize they can do longer episodes, that they can maybe have a longer season. Not this, not this. Screw this. Unless Fennec is the main character in that, I don't want to see any more of this, because this was below average. It had its high points. Again, the high points were 5 and 6. There were a few other things. I love Fennec, and there were like high points in each episode for sure. As I pointed out in this last one, if you've seen any of my other episodes, um, then you know that there is good to be had there, and there are people who I believe care. But then the rest of it is just like, you could literally just watch this show just for episodes 5 and 6, and then skip everything else, because there's no point. Like the rest of it will piss you off if you're expecting something with Boba Fett, which was apparently not even what they were planning on. This was apparently a Mandalorian 2.5, and they could have given it 2 shits about Boba Fett, at least from what they've done to him in this show. So there's that. If you got something out of this, I'm happy for you. I don't agree with you, but you know what? Subjective is subjective. So anyway, I hope you enjoy. I will be back with more stuff later. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. See ya.